on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Everybody settle down now. It's 5:07. It's O'Connor and Company, and Joe Biden is waking up in Camp David after a decision has been made amongst his family, and, well, we're going to have to talk about that. Also, at 6:35, Laura Hanford, mom out of Fairfax, who has some news for everyone. You know, they're going to start teaching gender identity in elementary school because they're Fairfax County. At 7:05, Joe DeGeneva has plenty to discuss with us, as today we'll have that final Supreme Court push and the decision on Trump's immunity. Joe's been like batting 1,000 on his predictions, so we'll get his prediction on that. Also, at 7:35, Hung Cao, running for U.S. Senate, fresh off his appearance with Donald Trump and Glenn Youngkin at the rally on Friday. And then at 8:05, Jerry Lehman, he's a lobster fisherman and CEO of the Northeast Fishermen's Stewardship Association. Why are you talking to a lobsterman? Well, because of a very important Supreme Court decision known as the Chevron deference, which is gone now. And then at 8:15, Melissa Roby from We Back Blue. Love Melissa. Oh, and Julie Kelly's joining us. We're loaded up here at 8:35. Julie Kelly will join us. But most importantly, our long national nightmare is over. We can now emerge from our week of mourning. It's sunrise again. It's morning in America. Julie Gunlock is back from vacation. Welcome back, Julie.
Good morning.
What a week to take off.
I know. I was dying.
I need to know, Thursday night, you're there with the boys at the beach, at Darren, you're all having a blast, and you say, hey, let's check in and how the debate's going.
I will tell you, we left the next day. And so I was curled up on the couch.
Yeah.
And
last night of vacation.
No. We hadn't left vacation.
I'm so sorry.
We left the next day. So I'm at home, regular day. And it was funny. My boys got real quiet because they knew I was. It was.
Mommy's working.
I'm such a nerd. No. It was. It's like you're an actor in Hollywood and the Academy Awards.
Oh, this is a big deal.
I really wanted to watch, or like you're waiting for the new season of Game of Thrones to start, right?
Yeah.
And my husband said he does. Less than 2 minutes in, my hands were over my mouth, and it was like I was watching a horror movie, and I didn't move from that position.
It was a bit of a political snuff film.
He said my eyes would get really big, and I'd calm down, then I'd get really big. We were both in shock, actually, from what we saw. So I was, I thought to myself, why in the world am I going on vacation? I should stay home and just talk about this because it was. And we went on vacation with a couple. With a family that is not so political. So I knew I truly wouldn't, be jabbering about this.
Sure, yeah. Oh, but which also makes it sort of frustrating.
Yeah.
Isn't it terrible when you're in our business and something huge happens and you're off inexplicably for something? That's why I don't know if you've noticed, but I have not taken a vacation day all of 2024.
I know.
I had one day off to go see my daughter's graduation.
Yeah, well, I've canceled all my vacations for the rest of the year.
Well, it's going to be, I've got a couple coming up and it's going to be rough. But I'll never forget, I was during the 2016 campaign, I was on a cruise and the Access Hollywood tape hit.
Oh.
And I was literally adrift at sea. And I was like, I got to call into my show. How can we work? And we were like trying to figure out how much it would cost per minute.
Yeah.
So I feel your pain.
So I felt it was quite a spectacle.
Well, we had quite a bit to talk about Friday morning, of course, with Patrice on WUKA, of course.
You guys were great. I did
thank
listen.
you. I saw that you sent a note on X about that.
Yeah.
But honestly, today probably is even the more consequential day because over the weekend, I love the mixed messages. Well, Biden just had a bad night. It was one bad debate. Everybody has a bad debate.
Sunday shows. Were unbelievable.
We're going to get into the spin that we saw from Nancy Pelosi and Wes Moore in a little bit. And the immediate spin, of course, the Clinton and Obama put out these statements. And this whole idea, well, he just had a bad debate, as if the problem was he got some facts wrong.
No, right.
Or this is not, it has nothing to do with the debate.
Did everybody miss the fact that he thinks there's a major sister rape crisis going on in the country? What?
Yes, women are being raped by their sisters, and that's why they need abortions.
Yeah,
well, I mean, sisters can have penises now. That's what we've learned. It's the Joe Biden's Democrat Party.
No, you're right. The sort of defenses of him were, it was like they didn't watch.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or they're just trying to. Well, I think the defenses are meant for people who didn't see it.
Right.
To just say, oh, he lost the debate.
Right.
No. This isn't about losing the debate. This is about his incapability of putting a word
exposes
together.
all of you for the cruel
all the
people that you
liars.
are, the elder abusers you are.
So we had all of those messages. We had the spin on the Sunday shows, which we'll share the audio with you. We had Clinton and Obama coming out, throwing their support. Everyone is saying Kamala Harris, of course, Joe Biden's not going anywhere. Joe Biden's not going anywhere. Then we learned, even though everyone's saying that he's not going anywhere, that suddenly Joe Biden has called a summit of his family for Camp David.
Oh, that was planned, Larry.
Then we heard, that was planned because they're doing a photo shoot with Eddie Leibovitz, which I love. As you mentioned, how much cocaine is at Camp David right now? Between Hunter, Annie Leibovitz, and probably everyone else in the Biden family, the granddaughters, and there's a lot of blow in Camp David.
Oh, yeah.
They might be cross-country skiing right now at Camp David in the middle of July. Anyway, so then we heard that, and then we got the leaks. Everybody wants him to stay. Jill Biden, it's all going to come down to what Jill wants, and Jill is insisting that he stay in the race.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, Jill is doing a job on her legacy.
Yeah.
She is coming off as this sort of, I call it Nurse Ratched meets Mrs. Mao, Madame Mao, because it is her love of power, her love of all the trappings of, Bill Ackman put out this tweet this weekend where he said, she returns to normal civilian life. She is just a regular person if Joe doesn't run, and it really exposes just how power hungry she is.
And the other big voice in the room is Hunter Biden insisting that he stay in. And I mean, listen, when has Hunter Biden ever shown any bad judgment about anything? Seems
smartest guy in the room.
So somebody to put out on X over the weekend said, quick question, seriously, is the president of the United States getting any advice from anyone who hasn't been on literal crack? Because the whole family's assembled. His daughter-in-law, Bo's widow,
this
who was
family.
also a crack addict.
This family, it is really a crime summit. It is like a mob boss summit. Like I expect, it's like Tony and Carmela Soprano going up to the campsite and hashing it out on their future.
So all of the official messaging and from the media, as you saw the media try to do their spin, is bad. He lost the debate. It's clear he lost the debate. He's not going anywhere. Nobody wants him to go anywhere. His son doesn't want him to go anywhere. His wife doesn't want him to go anywhere. The whole family is rallying behind him during this family summit, and all indications are that Joe Biden is in it. He's got to save our country, and he's the only one who can do it, so he's not going anywhere. And in a moment, I'll explain to you how all of that reinforces my position, which is he will step down. He will step down. He will step aside. He won't be the nominee. He might step aside from the presidency itself. That's my prediction, and I'll give you the details on that in just a moment. But first, it's 5:15.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, will Joe Biden be forced to step down as president by the Democrats and their media pals? 9 a.m. on WMAL.
Why was the president struggling?
I think the president had a tough night. I think all of us have difficult nights. Well, I think that the president had a difficult night, just like every single one of us do.
That would be the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. Doing his best, I guess, but it's not that good, whatever his best is. I know you may be surprised to hear this, but everyone, the entire media narrative right now and all of the words from the upper echelons of the Democrats is that Joe Biden's their man and they're sticking with Joe. And so that's why it might be surprising for you to hear me say that I think that means he's stepping aside. And let me explain. All you're hearing is support for Joe Biden, because the last thing Joe Biden, the Biden family, the inner circle, and the upper echelon of the Democrats and the media, the last thing they want you to think is that he's being forced out.
Yeah.
They're doing whatever they can to continue to bolster up this fake image of Joe Biden, the selfless servant of our nation, the patriot, who will even set aside his own political ambition for what's best for our country.
Right.
That's the narrative that's being built here. They're already making plans for the monument to Joe Biden on the National Mall. This has got to be seen as some sort of selfless sacrifice that Joe Biden is making. And so you can hear the speech that he will give. Everyone advised me that I should stay. I had nothing but the 1,000% support from my wife and from my son and from my family and Barack and from Bill and from Hillary and from Kamala, and everyone wanted me to stay in. And I know that if I did stay in, I'd win. But folks, I can't give you any malarkey. I got to be honest with you. I got to be square. Always have been. When have I ever lied to you? I'm Joe Biden. That's the Biden brand. I know in my heart that I can't deliver for 4 more years. Age has caught up to me, and I'm going to, for the best thing for our country and for the future of our party, I'm stepping aside and letting somebody else pick it up. Because the most important thing right now is to defeat Donald Trump and to save democracy and blah, 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 blah. And that's what it is. It's got to be only his decision. Especially because of the nature of what's going on here, it can't seem like he's being controlled. He's got to stand up there, and this is all my decision, and I defied everyone, but I'm my own man. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
It's funny because I know you're kind of imitating him right now, but he will sound nothing like that.
Yes, I know. I had way too much. Well, yeah.
You sound very sure of yourself. When is I meant to ask you this before we went on, but when is the next debate?
Well, they're theoretically supposed to have a debate in September. But by the way, if I were Donald Trump, I'd be like, I think we're done debating, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything else to prove here?
No. Donald Trump, are you kidding? He's going to say more.
Maybe.
More opportunities.
I don't know. I think, no, because anything that Joe Biden does that's any better than what you just saw is going to be like, look at him.
He won't,
He's
though.
Superman.
He won't, though. This condition that he has is going to accelerate. He will only get worse. There is no helping him at this point. And imagine what drugs they pumped him up with, and that was the performance they got.
Well, that's why. Let me tell you, that's why he's going to leave, because they all know. And the fact of the matter is, he is being controlled, and he's only there at the good graces of the powerful few, the donors, and the donors, the Obamas, the power brokers within the party, and the most important thing that's happening right now is that polls are starting to come in. We had the flash poll, the overnight poll, and the only question there was who won the debate. Well, now it has to do with how the debate has affected people's vote. First, I'll talk to you about this one. This is the New York Post has the poll, but it's actually is this a CBS News poll? Yeah, CBS News YouGov poll. The question was asked of both candidates, does the candidate have the mental and cognitive health to serve as president? For Donald Trump, it was split right down the middle. 50% said he does, 49% says he does not. For Joe Biden, only 27% of the electorate believe that Joe Biden has the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. 72%. 72% of the American people believe that Joe Biden does not have the cognitive health to be president of the United States. In addition to that, Democracy Corps has a post-debate poll. Biden's already low approval rating has now dropped 2 more points. But even more importantly, his vote lead over Donald Trump dropped 8 points from the debate. Democrat-leaning voters, a poll of just voters who were already leaning Democrat. These are voters who voted for Biden, voted for Hillary, voted for Obama in the past. They are now less likely to choose Biden. According to a Politico survey. It's a disaster. It's the Hindenburg Titanic and Mount Vesuvius all rolled into one.
And yet he still is president. The fact that nobody has tried to remove this man after that showing. This is what upsets me so much, is that we're talking about the campaign. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He should step down today. Well, this is dangerous.
That's the other thing they're trying to sort of maneuver here, is if he's not fit to be on the ticket, how is he fit to be in the presidency? They literally
tried to impeach Donald Trump over a phone call, and they let this bumbling fool, who's obviously not there anymore, serve as president still. This is incredibly irresponsible.
Yeah, this is a constitutional crisis.
Absolutely.
Is what it is.
And if this were a Republican in office, that's all the media would be talking about. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
Right.
What are you doing?
He obviously can't do the job as president.
Kamala should be president right now.
Right. Well, and that's the question. What do they do? And by the way, I want to take your calls on that. What do they do exactly? Who do they bring in? I know a lot of people are saying Gavin Newsom. To me, and I've been saying this for 8 months now, Kamala Harris is the only option they've got.
Right.
They cannot bypass her, first of all, politically, But secondly, they're already on the ticket.
Wait,
And they've already raised money. All the money that the Biden-Harris campaign has raised.
It can only go to her.
It goes to him or her.
Yes, exactly.
And, I mean, listen, they'll always find money, I suppose. They'll all be able to find the money. But how do they politically maneuver bypassing the historic first black woman?
Yeah, this is what you get when you choose someone based on the color of their skin and not their merits. Yeah. This is what you get.
Well, we want to hear from you. 888-630-9625. What do you think the Democrats are going to do here? 888-630 WMAL. It's 523.
All right, coming up, what are the Democrats going to do with their Biden problem? Are they going to keep him? Are they going to go with Kamala? We're taking your calls. Keep it here. It's 5:30.
It's 5:36. It's O'Connor and Company on this busy Monday morning. First day of July. It's all downhill from here, right? If you think about the year, the calendar is a mountain. We're on the back side of it. Going downhill, wind at our back. At 6:35, Laura Hanford's going to join us. She keeps an eye on Fairfax County School Board, and they're really excited to teach gender identity to elementary kids. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Hung Cow. 8:05, the fisherman at the center of, the end of Chevron in the Supreme Court. You're going to hear his story. 8:15, Melissa Roby from We Back Blue, a new event new legislation there that we need to pass through to support our cops. And then at 8:35, Julie Kelly on the great decision there that helped a lot of the January 6th convicts.
Yeah.
So this is fantastic.
Yeah, great lineup. Great day.
And what a string of good news in a 48-hour stretch there for out of the Supreme Court and out of that. I don't know if it's good news out of the debate. It's good news to finally, have some level of validation. Yeah, think about the media. We are going to take your calls here. I'm all over the place. 888-630-9625. You mentioned the media has been lying to us about Joe Biden. It's been worse than that. Actually, because we're used to them lying. But the entire narrative from Joe Biden, if anyone were to dare to step forward and say, it looks like there's something wrong with this guy. It looks like this isn't normal, right?
Yeah.
They would, first of all, their entire message was, who are you going to believe? Us or your eyes, right? I mean, that's... They literally, the media narrative for the last 5 years has been, don't believe what you see. Don't believe what you hear. Just believe what we tell you.
That's exactly right.
But then if you challenge what we tell you, you're to be removed from polite society. James Rosen at a press conference actually said, Mr. President, with all due respect, you seem to have lost a step here or there. What do you say to voters who are concerned about it? He was not asked another question for 2 years in the White House
They'll
pool.
punish you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody stood up for his defense. No other reporter said that's a legitimate question to ask.
Right.
So it's been something else.
But Larry,
cycle.
Everything what the mainstream media has gotten wrong. Think about, it bothers me so much because I was so affected by what happened with COVID because of my children. And yet we're memory holing that. The media doesn't really talk about. There's really been no solid investigation. There have been some investigations here and there. But the media got that wrong. The experts told them masks work. The vaccine prevents getting the disease. We should close the schools. Think of that we all know now. All the evidence was we shouldn't have closed the schools. We didn't need to mask kids. The vaccine didn't work as promised. Yeah. Right now we know. There's never any apologies.
Right.
There's never.
No, there's never an apology.
Never any apologies to those who were canceled, as you said, taken out of polite society.
Right.
And you apply that same rule. They're doing it with Biden.
To Biden. They apply it to all of these things.
All of these
Absolutely.
things.
All right, let's go to Chris and Marshall. First up here, I think that Biden's done, and I think that it's just baked in the cake. Everything else is just noise that we hear right now and sort of the narrative. What do you think, Chris?
Well, thank you so much, Larry and Julie. Welcome home. There's a cornucopia of talent at WMAL, but it's just not the same without you. We had another epic Patriot potluck bonfire on Saturday, and we look forward to seeing you guys out in due course.
Yeah.
But I think that the debate could not have gone any better for Donald J. Trump because he was presidential, he was reserved, he was mature, as opposed to the vegetant. But the vegetant presents them with a bit of a conundrum because he did not have a Fetterman moment. He did not have a stroke on the debate like Wexton did. He did just good enough to not get jettisoned by the left. Yet now they're probably trying to convince
Chris, what do you want to? So the only thing that would have had them take him off the ticket is if he actually literally dropped down on the stage, like had some sort of medical emergency in front of Jake Tapper.
Larry, look at their track record. Absolutely, it would have had to have been flagrantly, blatantly, irrefutably.
Dana Bash jumps in. Well, it appears that President Biden's head has exploded, but we'll clean this up during the break, and I'm sure everything will be fine.
He's not wrong, Larry. I mean, honestly, the guy would have had to fall over for some of these people. For Westmore.
Did you see Jill carrying him down the one step after the debate? He did fall down. All right.
And
So Chris, are you sure you're not saying this? Because, and this is the thing, I hesitate to say this whole he's gone and Kamala's coming in, because actually that gives the Democrats a chance. The Trump people are like, everyone stop talking about Biden being removed, okay? We want Biden right where he is. Is that what you're doing, Chris?
We do not want to go against No, let me put it this way. I believe the Vegetant is the absolute best opposition for us to go against. It's like electioneering. It's almost as if we went out in the primaries and placed him in that position. It couldn't work better. Now, Newsom is bright and shiny. Pritzker's a degenerate. There are just too
Gretchen
many.
Whitmer literally belongs to a coven, I believe.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and then there's Big Mike. I'm wondering if Big Mike were to get elected, would Big Mike then come out as the first transgender president? It might be groundbreaking.
Thank you, Chris and Marshall. We look forward to the bonfire. I appreciate the call. I don't know who he's referring to when he says Big Mike. I'll have to research
He'll
that.
text us.
I'm not sure. It's 5:43. And we continue to take your calls. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think he stays? Chris and Marshall thinks what do you call it? The Vegetant? The Vegetant.
We might have
stays.
to steal that. That was good.
I think he's gone. I think it's already baked in the cake. I think that's why we saw a debate this early. So can you imagine if this were mid-September, where the first debate usually is? It would be over.
Oh, it'd be over.
It'd be 100% over.
I'm not sure I'm there with you.
All right.
Yet. And we rarely disagree. I cannot imagine a scenario this late in the game.
Yeah.
Where they switch it out. Well, and they are, and this is the other thing. They're not promoting Kamala. I know we have more calls, but
they're not promoting Kamala. In other words,
they're just. I feel like if this were baked in the
they'd
cake,
be boosting her up more.
Yes.
What's there to boost?
I know.
They're unburdened by what has been. JT in D.C. JT, come on up here. You're next up. What do you think they're going to do?
Yes, good morning. Well, I've got it mapped out past 2032 at this point. So what's going to happen is Kamala Harris is going to win on a contested ballot for the convention, and she's going to be put forth. And then what's going to happen is she's going to wind up being president for 8 years, and let me tell you why. Because that massive illegal immigration that's going on, that's your voting pool. And then Gavin Newsom is going to be the vice president groomed all the way to 2032. And by that time, all the transgender children that are in elementary school are going to be the voting pool. So there you have it.
Wow, JT.
Well,
I mean,
that could happen.
It's certainly within the realm of possibility.
It certainly is.
JT, how do you make it through the day knowing this? I got to be honest. JT,
it hurts.
It hurts. It hurt to hear it too. JT, I'm glad you got it out, and I appreciate it. I do think Kamala is the replacement. I don't know that she's such an easy win, because what's the word I'm looking for?
Disturbing.
She's loathed. That's the word I'm looking for. Loathed.
It's really depressing when JT how he laid that out, and I think of that's a lot of my life with these awful people. Yeah. Like I might be dead.
Yeah. If you're lucky. John and Frederick, what do you think they do, John? What are the Democrats planning?
Oh, I got 3 or 4 things about all that. I think that they are planning for the Michigan governor because, as mentioned earlier, they like Kamala, they want to pick somebody with that's young and female. I do think they were set up, or Biden was set up, in the convention being this early. I think they knew the train wreck was coming. I think they were wringing their hands just waiting for it to happen. I think he's been told, step aside or they'll take him out.
Oh.
I think that by picking somebody now, they get to wipe the Biden slate clean for the last 4 years. The DNC has their dream of picking a wolf in sheep's clothing. Not us, not
which
me
they
on the
kind of
border.
did with Biden
Not me
anyway.
on-
So you think it's Gretchen
Well-
Whitmer? She's going to emerge from her coven and be the nominee. How do they bypass
Somebody
Kamala?
like her.
John, that's the big good.
Yeah,
John,
John-
thank you for the call, but that's the big challenge.
And let's talk about the optics of going with the white Karen, right? The
Yeah.
white lady over the black female, historic first female black. You know,
One of the most accomplished women in America, Kamala Harris.
How do they? And to pick a white woman over a black woman, I think
by the
Oprah
way-
might have words.
Well, and by the way, they've assured us since the moment they selected her that she is ready to go.
Oh yeah.
She is ready to be president. So when the one person that you've selected, your big decision, who would be next in line, suddenly becomes the president? Suddenly isn't able to be president?
Passed over.
Yeah, and passed over. Honestly, I hate to say it. I hate to say it out loud because it's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times. The only person that's got to be Kamala, the only person who they could put in.
I know what you're going to say.
No. Hillary. Hillary Clinton is the only person that they could legitimately get away with, and Kamala can't say a word, and her people can't say a word. The only person they could have instead of Kamala is Hillary.
Is Kamala suicidal? Has anyone checked on her?
She should tweet that, just in case anyone's wondering. All right, how about Mike at Foggy Bottom? Speaking of Hillary, her ghost still haunts Foggy Bottom. Hey, Mike, you're up.
Hey, thanks, Larry.
Is this Mike Pompeo, by the way?
Unfortunately not.
All right.
No, just plain old Mike. My concern is more immediate. What happens to the government of the country over the next 7 months? If Kamala becomes president, if I've read the 25th Amendment correctly, she has to nominate a candidate for vice president, and that candidate has to be approved by both houses of Congress.
That's correct.
Is the Republican House going to approve her candidate for vice president? And the second problem is
when she picks Larry Hogan, they will.
If you look at Section 3, there's another possibility. President Biden could tell the House and the Senate that he's incapacitated, and then Kamala becomes acting president, and they could just keep it that way for the rest of the year.
But that's for temporary incapacitation, like if he's surgery. Well, this ain't temporary. I mean, this is going south fast, Mike. But I guess they could finagle it, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I'm still more concerned about who becomes vice president for the rest of this term.
Yeah, good question, Mike, and I don't have an easy answer for you.
I mean, this could turn into quite an embarrassment on the international stage if we can't get our own vice president appointed.
We've already got an embarrassment on the international stage. That's
we
for
do,
sure.
of course.
Mike, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Mike and Foggy Bottom with some very keen observations. And Richard Nixon was faced with the same dilemma when Maryland's own Spiro Agnew, honestly the finest Republican ever coming out of the state of Maryland, in my opinion, when Spiro Agnew had to step down, and he replaced him with Gerald Ford, who, even though the House of Representatives was overwhelmingly had a Democrat majority, he was well respected on both sides of the aisle. And back then, in the good old days of our country, they were mature enough to sort of say, well, listen, he's not from our party, but we'll go ahead and approve him. So maybe Kamala Harris picks someone who is respected on both sides of the aisle from the Democrats in the House, like
name one.
Who's the Gerald Ford of the Democrats right now?
Hold on, just give me a second.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vice President Ilhan Omar. It's 5:54. All right, coming up, continued fallout from the Hindenburg of a debate Joe Biden gave, including what's being discussed behind closed doors, who the Biden family blames for what just happened, And more of your calls at 888-630-WMAL at 6 o'clock. And it's July 1st on O'Connor and Company.